the Jedi of Believe, and you're here again in the office of the Always Believe House. And today we're going to review for your test tomorrow. And it's going to be fun. This test is all about functions and graphic lines, so let's go. I'm going to do some of these problems for you, and the key will be posted for the rest. Okay? Now then, on the first problems, let's write down some notes over here. So let's go over here, write down a horizontal line. A horizontal line looks like this, doesn't it? And horizontal line will have y equals something, and the slope will be 0. Make sure you know that. A vertical line, write down vertical line. A vertical line will look like this. It won't be y equal, it will be x equals something. And it will have a slope that's undefined. Make sure you have this because your test is open notes. So make sure you're writing this down. This will help you out on the test. Now then, I'm not going to do all the problems for you. So let's go to number 1. Our line is right here in it. Notice that this is a horizontal line, so it has a slope of 0, and it only crosses the y-axis, right? This line does not cross x. So it crosses the y-axis at -2. So I've written down the slope and the equation of the line. Oh, let's go to number 3. On number 3, this is a vertical line. If it's a vertical line, the slope's undefined. Notice that this equation, or this line, does not cross the x-axis. It's parallel, or the y-axis. It's parallel to it, right? It only crosses the x-axis, and it crosses the x-axis at -3. You can do the other two. Okay. Now then, let's go to number 5. This is important. You've got to be able to solve for y. You've got to be able to solve for y. So on this one right here, -4y equals -9x plus 8. All we have to do to solve for y on this is divide by -4. And when we do that, we'll get y equals 2 negatives make a positive 9/4x minus 2. This is our slope, and this is our y-intercept, right? So the line would start at the -2, and then you would go up 9 right forward with it. So your slope is equal to 9/4, which means up 9 right 4, and your y-intercept would be -2, which means you would start off at the -2. Okay, you can do number 6 on your own. Let's go to number 7. Write this down. Solve for y. Make sure you solve for y. Then use your y-intercept and your slope. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to do the work to the left. I'm going to write down 2x minus 5y equals 15. I'm going to move over the x first. So I'm going to do minus 2x minus 2x. I'm going to get -5y equals -2x plus 15. Remember, we don't write down 15 minus 2x. We wanted y equal x in the number. Now then, I'm going to divide everything by -5. When I do that, the y will be isolated. The -5's divide out to 1. I'll get y equal 2 negatives makes a positive, and 2/5 does not simplify x. 15 divided by -5 is -3. This is my slope, which is 2/5, which means up 2, right 5, and this is my y-intercept, or my starting number, which is -3 in it. So I'm going to start at -3. So I'll -3, I'm going to put a dot. And then I'm going to do what the slope tells me to do. The slope tells me to go up 2, right 5. From the dot I just drew, not from the origin. So from this dot, count up 2/5 and draw a dot. If I go up 2/5 again, I'll be off the graph. So I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to go down to left 5. I'm going to connect those dots and draw my line. That is F-U-N, fun, fun, fun. Let's continue on. I'm going to let you do number 8 on your own. Number 9, this is a piece of cake here. Find the slope and the y-intercept of each line of the graph below. Okay, so this is the y-intercept, right? So our y-intercept is -1. And my slope, go left to right. My slope tells me to go down 1 and write 1, 2, 3, 4. Write 4, doesn't it? So my slope will be negative 1 over 4, won't it? So m equals negative 1 over 4, and my y-intercept is negative 1 in it. Remember, your slope, you go from the left dot to the right dot, left dot to the right dot. You go up or down to the right, up or down to the right. If you go down, the slope's negative. If you go up, the slope's positive. Let's go to number 11. We want the slope and the y-intercept, so we need to solve for y. So on these problems, write down solve for y. So we're going to solve for y. So on number 11, I'm going to move the 5x to the right. So negative 3y equals negative 5x plus 9. Remember that 5x is going to switch signs when you move it across, won't it? Now then I'm going to divide by negative 3. And I'll get y equals 5 over 3x minus 3. And my slope is 5 over 3. And my y-intercept is negative 3. So if I were to graph that line, I would go down to negative 3, draw a dot. Then I would go up 5 over 3 from the dot I just drew. Number 13. Oh, isn't this fun? Just like eating a double stuffed Oreo. Oh. So number 13, we're going to solve for y again. We're going to move the 6x over. What happens when you move a negative 6x across? It will turn into a positive 6x, right? So 3y equals 6x minus 12. Now then, we're going to divide everything by the number in front of the y. So we're going to divide everything by 3, and that's going to give me y equal 6 divided by 3 is 2, the letters x. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. So my m would be 2, or 2 over 1, and my b would be negative 4, wouldn't it? So I would start graphing at the negative 4, then I would go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Oh, you've got to be able to solve for y on this test. Make sure you can isolate the y. Okay, number 15. Describe the key features of the graph below in terms of slope and y-intercept. Okay. Now then, let's get this with our growing number and starting number. The lifeguard earns $3.20 per week, so that's our growing number, for 40 hours plus $12 per hour worked over 40 hours. A lifeguard can earn a maximum of 60 hours per week. Describe the key features. Okay. Now then, what they do right here is 40 hours, and I'm going to make a T-chart out of this. 40 hours. Oh, let me do this. Let's put X and Y. This is not really the growing number here. Okay. It's per week. It is a growing number. But for 40 hours, you're going to pay $3.20, which is, for 40 hours, you get $3.20. It actually is a starting number. So this right here is worked over 40 hours, okay? So before overtime, let's write down overtime. Before overtime, if you work 40 hours, you get $320, okay? Now then, 10 hours, you can work 60 hours. So from 40, this is kind of confusing, from 40 to 60 is 20 hours in it. So 20 times 12 is 240, and 240 plus the 320 is the 560. So for 20 hours of overtime, I get 560. So before I start overtime, I'm at this ordered pair, which is 0320, okay? So after I work 40 hours, before I start overtime, I'm at 0 hours again because I'm clocking overtime. I'm at 320. After 20 hours of overtime, I get the 560, which is that, okay? So the starting number right here, or the y-intercept, is 320, and it's the salary. It's the money before overtime. Okay? The slope is going to be the $12 per hour. That's going to be our slope or our growing number, right? So the 12 is going to be what's y? It's going to be the dollars per hour of overtime. So the y-intercept's 320, and where did that 320 come? After you work 40 hours, you make $320. So you start off at the 320. Then your overtime starts. Every hour you get $12, but you can only work 40 to 60 hours is only 20 hours. So 20 times 12 is 240. 240 plus 320 is the 560. So after 60 hours of work, you would have 560 bucks. Okay, so the 12 is going to be how much your salary is growing by in overtime. Kind of confusing there, okay? Hopefully that, just replay it. Hopefully I explained it well. Let's go. These are going to be pretty simple here. This is my X. This is my Y. So I'm just going to take and plug the -2 in and get my answer, okay? Same thing here. This is my X. This is my Y. I'm going to plug -3 in and get my answer, right? Now then, on the 0 of the function, write down replace Y with 0. So this is your Y. This is function notation. Spell function right. And this is equation. So in equation, we're going to replace this with Y. So I'm going to replace the Y with 0 and solve this for X. Okay, so I have 0 equal -2/3x plus 2. I'm going to take the 2 and move it across. That would give me a -2, right? Okay, now then there's two ways to do this. You can multiply by the reciprocal, you can divide. Some of your teachers told you divide. I'm going to get rid of the fraction the way I taught you, so the fraction is 3. These cancel out. I'm going to get -6 equals -2x, and then I'm going to divide by -2. And I'll end up with 3 equals x. I've seen lots of people do this different ways. You can multiply by the reciprocal, which is exactly the same thing I just did. You're going to multiply by 3 and divide by 2, no matter which way you do it, okay? You can also divide by 2/3. I've seen students do it that way. Now then, on number 19, I'm just going to set this up for you. You're going to replace this with 0. So that's going to turn into 0 equal -6/5x plus 6. You're going to solve that for x the same way I just did it, okay? What a blast. Oh, ho, ho. You're going to do wonderful on this test tomorrow, okay? Make sure you're taking these notes. The problems we did not do, the key will be posted. So you can go back, do them on your own, then look at the key, see if you're doing them right. Okay, on number 20, let's write down all this information. We need to write down the y-intercept, the x-intercept, and get our slope. So the y-intercept is 200, and it's gallons, right? We need to make sure we know this. So the y-intercept is 200 gallons, and it represents the starting amount of fuel, okay? So it's the initial amount of whatever you got. That's what the y-intercept is. So when this truck driver starts driving, he has 200 gallons of fuel. Now then, let's get our slope. This is the way I would get the slope. The slope goes down 200, and it goes to the right 20, doesn't it? Not 200, but 20, right? So my slope goes down 200 and to the right 20, doesn't it? If it goes down, it's negative, right? What's 200? And that goes down 200 gallons over 20 hours, right? So it goes down 200 gallons. That's my y. Put y over here. This is my x. So it goes down 200 gallons to the right 20 hours. That would simplify to -10, wouldn't it? Since it's going down, it's negative, right? Which means I'm using 10 gallons per hour, aren't I? So your slope is -10, and it represents 10 gallons used per hour. This is my y, this is my x. So your slope, y'all write this down, your slope is always a number and then y per x. Whatever your y label is, that's your dependent variable. And per your x is, that's your independent variable. Those two words go into your slope every single time. Now then, my x-intercept is 20 hours, isn't it? The x-intercept is when you run out of your y. So 20 hours equals 0 fuel. Okay, or 0 gallons, right? At 20 hours, I will be out of fuel. That's what the x-intercept or the 0 means. It's when you run out of y. Now then, let's start 21. I'm just going to help you out. I'm going to let you get your slope. Okay, so on this one, the 2 we have right is candies remaining. So my y is candies, right? And my x is days. So we're eating so many candies per day. Now then, let's look at what this slope does. This slope goes down 32 candies. So down 32 candies over, and it goes over 8 days, doesn't it? Since it's going down, it's negative, and 32 divided by 8 is 4, right? So my slope is going to be negative 4 candies over 1 day, right? That's what the slope actually means. So let's go over here to the slope. The slope is negative 4, and it represents 4 candies eaten, you're assuming you're eating these, per day. And remember, the candies is your y and your day is your x. Your slope is your number, y per x. Always, 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 y per x. Now then, you should be able to get the y-intercept and the x-intercept and write what happens looking at the top. Okay, on these right here, we're just going to continue the t-chart, okay? So let's write this down. At 6, you have 54, and we want to go to week 9, so 7, 8, 9. And what are you doing to go down? You continue to add 9, don't you? Do y'all see that? So at 6, I have 54, and I'm going to keep adding 9. Okay, so keep adding 9, and then you will get to that number, okay? That's one way you can predict in the future, is just keep repeating your constant rate of change, right? This is the constant rate of change, which is also the slope in it. Your slope is the constant rate of change. Okay, same thing on 23. This will be easier because we only want 7, right? So find out what that 7th is and write it down. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Good luck on your test tomorrow. Remember, you are amazing. You are created to do wonderful things, and you are awesome.